Hello everyone and welcome. I am One More Sheep yet again, and today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna be playing basically the finale of Sonic Frontiers. Now, there's bits and bobs about the finale of this game I kinda wanted to talk about in my main review, but because I didn't really want to spoil people looking for their thoughts on the game, that's why I'm kind of doing this in a separate video. So here's your warning now. If you don't want the end game of Sonic Frontiers spoiled, do not watch this video. And to start things off, I kind of also want to show off that, well, the new DLC for this game just released, which is 2 Rathalos armor sets from Monster Hunter: The Sonic and Where. So I'm going to be equipping them for the sake of, well, just showing it off, really. But let's just jump right on in. So, if you guys do remember, when I was talking about this game during the course of the main review, I said that the final 2 boss battles of the game were essentially a little bit disappointing, at least a lot more disappointing than I wanted, really, because I kind of wanted the final 2 boss battles to be a bit more, I guess, in terms of weight, if that makes any sense. So let me just grind up a couple of rings by here before we get to the actual fights themselves, so I can show you what I'm really talking about. I don't even know why I'm grinding the rings. The boss fights are ridiculously easy, which is kind of part of my problem. But yeah, basically, as much as I do absolutely adore this game, you know, I did want to talk about the end game a little bit here. And again, well, for the most part, I absolutely adore pretty much everything. It's just a case of, I don't know, the final couple of boss fights, just, you'll see what I mean now when I get to it. Basically, I find one of the boss fights too easy, and the other boss fight to be kind of like a build-up, if that makes sense. Let me just check. Yeah, I am set to hard difficulty, perfect, so I can just go straight in. Whee! Again, though, as much as, like I said in my review, I absolutely adore the movement in this game. It's just so fun. But let's just grab this Chaos Emerald and be done with it. Just to speed things along, I'm going to skip the cutscenes apart that aren't unskippable, just to get into it.
One more.
Yeah, one more. Gotta hurry. Yes, I know. This is more me just talking about the final bosses for the sake of getting my thoughts across, really. But here he is. This is the final Titan of the game, Supreme. And honestly, the biggest issue I sort of have when it comes to this guy is he's too straightforward. He is way too straightforward and easy to take down. Now, if they really bumped up Supreme's difficulty, I could see this being a really cool boss, but unfortunately, I don't know, I just find him extraordinarily easy to defeat. It's so weird. Now, don't get me wrong, I do think that my stats, because I am max level, might have something to do about it, but I don't know. I've already beaten half his HP, you know. This boss needed to be a hell of a lot more of a, I guess, a punching sponge, and he needs to have a lot more attacks to him, you know. And this entire sequence by here where he goes into phase 2, like, this is so damn cool. I absolutely love this imagery. But then those wings that shows up just sort of disappear in the actual boss fights, and, you know, the actual bullet hell part of this whole thing, just, it's too easy to really dodge and deal with, you know, ladies and gentlemen. Basically, I think the best thing is this could actually be considered a first boss of the game, not so much a final boss, because look how quick this guy just gets taken down. It's ludicrous, like actually ludicrous. Now, when you get to about this point in the boss fight, I believe you actually need to take damage for the boss fight to continue onwards, because for some reason you just sort of get into like this bit where he just gets invincible for a little bit. So right here, for some reason, you need to get hit. Otherwise, you'll just be wailing on him forever. And again, a lot of this shit is still really super cool. It's just, for the fine, you know, for what for most people this would be the finale of the game, it's very underwhelming. And a lot more could have been done, you know. That's mainly what I'm sort of saying with this one. Like, I don't think the boss fight is not fun. I think it's actually quite fun. It's just a case of it's too simple, you know. Like the previous three bosses, all three of the previous bosses had a bit more going on, in my opinion. Well, maybe not so much Giganto, the first Titan, but you know, that's the first Titan. When you got the second Titan, Wyvern, you have all this crazy shit where you're flying through the sky, you know. Then the third Titan, the Knight, you have a lot of like in-depth things where you have to do a lot of certain parrying and whatnot to continue and fight him. I don't know, it just feels a bit of an anemic boss fight to end the game on. That's the main thing I gotta really say. Of course, this is where the game will probably actually end for anybody playing the game on the normal difficulty. However, if you are playing it on the hard mode, there is an additional boss battle that you do fight, which honestly I don't mind so much because the hard difficulty, to tell you the truth, I've tried this game on normal and hard just to try the differences. In terms of difficulty, I can't see a difference. I actually don't know what the difference is. Maybe you lose more rings when you get hit or something, or the enemies have more health. But either way, it's such a minute difference that playing it on hard is not going to be that difficult, you know? I mean, my entire first playthrough was on hard, and I've only died a handful of times, and almost every single time it was my own fault. But, you know, I digress. But yeah, basically this entire next boss, I don't think it's a bad final boss. In fact, I actually do really like it. It's just, well, you'll see. You'll see when we actually get into it. So let's go. Come on, sages. Let's crack this beastie wide open. Oh, lovely jubbly. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here we are with the actual final boss of the game, the end. And I'm hoping this works because I've already tried recording this segment and my computer decided to pull a hissy fit and start lagging out. So, fingers crossed this all works perfectly this time. But, yeah, essentially, this is an interesting final boss to me because I am kind of disappointed in a way, and that's largely because the entire boss fight feels like a build-up, and the problem is the ending of the boss, which I'll talk about a bit more in detail when we actually get to the ending of the boss fight, is very, I don't know, it just sort of happens without like a meaningful like supersonic battle, you know. So this entire boss fight is basically Ikaruga. So if you like Ikaruga, you're gonna be more than happy here. You just, you know, you shoot the projectiles and you match the colors. It's as simple as that. What can I tell you, ladies and gentlemen? And I absolutely love what they're trying to go for with this. You know, I love the just sheer finality of like the music and just the monologue coming from the main big bad, the end itself. However, I also feel that this, I feel this boss is just kind of, it basically needed a second phase, if that makes sense. Like, this whole thing feels like a really good end game in a way. Like, it's presented very well, but this is basically the entirety of the boss. And don't worry if you're getting little stutters as well in your video. That's actually my computer. I don't know why my computer doesn't like this boss so much. This ran fine on my Steam Deck. But basically, yeah, that's the main thing I gotta really say about this boss fight is I don't actually think it's a bad final boss. It's more the case that I kind of expected something different, if that makes sense. You know, when you play through this boss battle, you kind of expect a second phase where you're actually playing a supersonic and it'll be some kind of mega cinematic ending, but it's kind of not really. Now, don't get me wrong, I actually do kind of like how the boss ends. I just wish there was another phase to it, you know. That's kind of like the main gripe I have with it. Otherwise, I actually kind of like the presentation of it all. I love the monologue that is playing in the background because it really, like, if you listen to what the boss is actually saying, well, it really does feel like they're trying to set up this boss as like a future enemy in a game again as well. Because the boss is saying things like, I am eternal, I am nothing and everything at the same time. I'm like, okay, so this is basically turning full Kirby, and I actually kind of dig that. I don't know, I'm kind of hoping that this is a recurring boss battle, you know, this enemy. I'm hoping we see more incarnations of it in the future where it gets fleshed out a bit more, because as it stands right now, as awesome as this, I guess the presentation of this all is, and the setup, I actually quite like for the most part. It does feel like it comes a little bit out of left field, I suppose you could say. So, you know, it could have been handled a little bit better. Now, don't get me wrong, like I said, I actually like this final boss. In fact, I think it's leagues above the likes of, say, the boss in Sonic Generations, for example, you know? And you can tell they're trying something really cool with this. It's just, I just think that there should have been another phase. Because even the music, the music, right? This is one of my favorite final boss themes in the series. It's so climactic sounding, you know? It's so good. And it's kind of weird because it's like a climactic sounding final boss that's also got like a sort of like somber tone to it. But when you get to this sort of point by here, this bit is basically an endurance run, so you're basically at the end of the boss fight here. I have seen some people get annoyed at this boss as well, because it is a bit of a difficulty spike if people aren't too accustomed to like either bullet hells or Ikaruga in general, because I think that's just the big thing. Like they took the mini game from earlier on the game, which was basically Ikaruga, and they turned it into the final boss, you know. Basically, I think this should have been the build-up, and this should have been a second phase. That's basically the gist of my feelings of the boss. That's why I kind of say I said in the comments of the previous video that I have a bit more nuance to my feelings of this boss fight, because I've failed it. Ah, shit. It's because I have a bit more nuance, just because I don't think this is a terrible final boss. I just wish it was handled a little bit differently. Anyway, I'm not gonna make you guys watch me fight this entire thing over again, so I'm just gonna cut ahead to after the end of the boss.
The end comes for you all.
And there we are, ladies and gentlemen. I am back at the end of, well, the end. And again, this finale by here, I think this could work. This works really, really well as a final blast, you know? This works as a great ending. I just kind of wish that after the sort of bullet hell Ikaruga section, there was a bit more of a second phase where you can, you know, just something a bit more bombastic, you know, because I actually love a lot of what they're doing with this boss. There is a lot about it that I think is just outright really fucking cool. Like this QTE, for example. I think this is really cool, and honestly, that is a beautiful shot. The music, the atmosphere, the presentation of it all. I love all of it, you know? It's just literally a case of, I love this final boss, but I wish there was a bit more to it, you know? That's basically all I really had to say. But again, I do think that I got a feeling like the end is gonna be a recurring villain. I think the end might come back, and if that's the case, this gives them plenty of chances to really go, you know, absolutely bananas in the future. But honestly, I just actually quite like this boss. That's why I kind of wanted to really sort of do a secondary video just to talk about it, because again, I found the boss disappointing.
Please.
Not bad, just
Look after.
I was kind of hoping there was a bit more of a, I guess, a little bit more of a bombastic second phase, if that makes any sense. But other than that, you know, it's really fun. I enjoy it. If you like Ikaruga, well, you're gonna love it. And let's be fair, who doesn't like a cheeky bit of Ikaruga? I mean, I don't know, I haven't really met anyone who I've spoken to that doesn't like Ikaruga in some form, so there you go. But, I digress indeed. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. I figured before we finish off the video, I want to actually show off the new DLC that just came out for the game, because this is actually really cool. So, there's the Rathalos DLC, which basically gives you Monster Hunter armor, and there's two sets of it. There's this set by here, which I'm currently wearing, and then there's a second set that I'm going to plop on the right side of the video, which is basically, well, it's basically the exact same. It's just Sonic wearing the full set of armor instead of a slightly lesser variant. And what comes as a nice little bonus to this armor set is actually in the fishing minigame. So if you go to the big fishing minigame, we will actually basically get a new minigame here, barbecue. So we can actually cook some meat, which gives us basically free tokens. So if you don't want to get coins for fishing and you still want to get the stuff, well, this gives you an alternate solution. I find it a bit tricky to time. That you kind of have to use the music to figure out when you're meant to push the A button to finish grilling. But honestly, it's just really super cool. I actually really like it. What can I tell you, ladies and gentlemen? There we go, perfect. Delicious. And you get a shit ton of tokens for it as well. I don't know if it's the same in the other regions, but at the very least for this big fishing spot, you get a shit ton, which makes sense. This is the final fishing spot of the game. But what I kind of wanted to say as well about the final, just to get my thoughts on the ending of the final two bosses, you know, just to wrap things up for the video. I actually, again, love the bosses. I just really wish that, you know, the first boss against Supreme was a little bit harder and went on a bit longer. And I wish the second boss against the end itself had a second phase, essentially, where you're not playing the Ikaruga minigame again. You're playing as actual Super Sonic, doing actual fighting, you know? But, I don't know. Like I said, though, I actually love the entire ending sequence despite that. I love the presentation of it all. You know, it looks gorgeous with the earth in the background. I love the music. And it really does feel like a finale. It just feels like it was building up to it was building up to another part of a finale that we didn't actually get, and it cuts straight to a QTE. You know, ladies and gentlemen. But,
would you like to try?
I digress indeed. But, yeah, I'm surprised I can get more Coco from this. I'm max level. I don't know what the point of getting more Coco would be. But anyway. All that said, that is it for this video. That's all I kind of wanted to talk about to sum up the last of my thoughts of Sonic Frontiers. Maybe I'll do a bit more videos of this game in the future, like if anything comes out, or maybe I could do like mod showcases or something, because this game, well, it's got a modding community that's slowly growing, and to tell you the truth, I actually am quite excited for the future of this game in regards to mods, because, you know, just imagine open zones that are custom made by fans. Like, imagine some Mario Odyssey levels, you know, just being, oh, that was weird lighting there, just some Mario Odyssey levels just plopped in here and having Sonic run around them. You know, it could be absolutely amazing, but, you know, I'm getting ahead of myself. Basically, I may do more videos in the future, but we shall have to see. We shall have to see how things go. What can I tell you? What can I tell you? Indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. But yeah, with that, thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. Don't be sheepish, people. I shall catch you all again. Bye! The fuck? Why is there a random gear here? But, okay. I think that must have been an enemy I must have fought before, and I just didn't pick the gear up. That was weird. Anyway, as I was saying, thanks for watching. I'll see you after. Bye!